Payton put together a solid game plan 2 weeks in a row. So this is a big. But overall, I can't complain too much. We just need to see some of the performed at an exceptional level against very good.
This was our third win in a row. Very happy. Obviously, okay, well, time for another episode of our Mile High Minute. As always, I'm here with Steve and Todd. And we're just going to get into it and do our normal, our good, bad, and ugly. So, Todd, let's start off with you. What did you see was good in the game?
So this is what I think is good. I think the intentions of Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, when they came to the Broncos were very, very good. Because I also think that this show is a lot different today than would have been if we did it on Monday. So I think we need to talk about the overall state of the organization right now. And it's a terrible state of the organization. Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, both very accomplished professionals, came in with high expectations, and they absolutely cannot function in this incredibly toxic franchise environment. You don't know who's calling the shots. You don't know who's doing what. But clearly, it's very, very difficult to be successful with the organization that's currently structured, and that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Steve, any thoughts, or do you have a different good?
I'm going to go with we currently have a 19% chance of making the playoffs, according to the New York Times little tracking system. Weird as it is, we could theoretically win the AFC West still, in spite of everything, just because the Chiefs have not been on their game. And, I mean, we haven't really either, but, things are still possible. The Stidham era may have begun. Who knows?
True. Yeah, that is true. I mean, I've essentially kind of got myself to the point where I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, surprise me, guys. Just surprise me. The good in the game, and I'm actually going to talk about something in the game, was us coming back and making those 2 scores to tie the game. That was really, it showed some fight. It showed some things. It just wasn't enough. We asked way too much of the team to be able to do that in the last, 5 minutes of the game. And the timeouts and everything, that's going to lead into the bad, which is why? Why did we use those timeouts? They didn't need to be used. We gave them extra time at the end. So it was just a call I didn't agree with. But then again, I'm also not paid to be a head coach. I'm not paid to be an assistant coach. I'm not paid to make the calls on whether we take a timeout or not. So I'm never going to try and get in their shoes on that. I just didn't like that. So, Steve, you're bad.
The last 2 games, everything about the Patriots game was pretty bad. I was watching it with family at home. I feel like maybe it was my fault because I wasn't at the bar watching it, but it was just terrible. I mean, there was the brief moment where the offense kind of opened up and, we got those 2 touchdowns fairly quickly, but I feel like that was a fluke in the overall scheme of that game. But it was pretty ugly. And, it's increasingly feeling like the streak of wins may have been the odd part of our season rather than the losses and bad play we've seen the rest of the season. But who knows?
Steve, I'm sorry, Todd.
So I think the bad is I have lost belief in Sean Payton's offensive play calling and his offensive strategy. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback who cannot fit into the system. And so you take him out and then you try to figure out, well, who can fit in the system? Well, the system looks like you need to have 2 or 3 years of training on it. You have to have a certain set of physical skills. And so essentially we're looking for a unicorn of a quarterback to play in Sean Payton's offense when finding any kind of good quarterback is a difficult thing to do. I'm just saying we're going to look at next year. Russell Wilson's going to be playing for another team, perhaps playing against us. We'll be paying him, and we'll be starting Jason Stidham. That's because Sean Payton's offense was too good for Russell Wilson.
That whole situation just makes me want to just. It's again, I've said it again and again and again. It happens with Fields. It happened with Case Keenum. It happened with Teddy Bridgewater. It happened with all these guys. Like Keenum, we brought him here because he was a mobile quarterback and we wanted him to run the offense. He was running at the Vikings that he did very well with. What did we do? We stuck him in a drop back quarterback situation, and the coaches didn't design an offense around his strengths. Again, this happens again and again and again. Coaches want to put square pegs in round holes, and I don't get it. You don't design your system, Sean. You design your system to work with Russell Wilson. Now, we also got Adam Gase is a good point of this, but, and I will go with the caveat with that, was Adam Gase, he designed his system with Peyton Manning in mind, which Peyton Manning, we all know, offensive coordinator brain. He could tell people to go wherever. He could see things that other people couldn't see. But when he got injured, Gase changed the offensive system to match, and I'm blanking on his name right now. Brock Osweiler. And Brock Osweiler did well. That's what you do. You change to meet your quarterback. You don't insist that your quarterback come in your system, because Sean Payton's system is a dink and dunk system. Russell isn't good at the dink and dunk stuff. The short yardage stuff, that's not his bread and butter. It's been shown. It's been a knock on him, and the stats show it up with where he's good. He's good at the 20 and plus if you get a run defense going. So again, I agree with you. The whole offensive plan that Sean Payton had didn't work, and that's going to lead into the ugly. And that's where
although I have to ask the question, or I have to point out, you have just said Adam Gase clearly better than Sean Payton. Go on.
No, I'm not saying Adam Gase is clearly better than Sean Payton. Adam Gase since shown once he got out and got a head coach, he couldn't do it. He's an offensive coordinator. That's it. But I'm just saying, I'm using his as an example of what you do, because Luke Getsy isn't changing the system to match Justin Fields. There's all these coaches out there that OCs that are like, you must do my system. I definitely think Sean Payton is better than Adam Gase. I'm going to make that very clear. So thank you for that follow-up, Steve. But, and this is the ugly, we kind of picked up on this in the beginning, and we kind of let it slide, his comment about how he needs to stop kissing babies. It was there from the beginning. Sean Payton never wanted Russell Wilson. He only kept him because he had to. Because the ownership said, look, we got this contract. You're not getting any. You want to trade for your guy, that's fine, but you're not getting a new quarterback. And I honestly feel like Russell was set up to fail. And he's getting mad at Sean, or Sean's getting mad at Russell for some of the things that Drew Brees did when he was in New Orleans. Like, he was known for charity work. He was known for following the certain path and kissing babies and doing all of that. So I don't know. I don't know where to go. But you're right, Todd, to go back to the thing, like, it's dysfunctional. You got to figure this out, because we can't keep doing this. This is the crap that was happening when we were under the trust, where one side didn't know what the other side was doing. So, all right, my rant's done. What is your guys' ugly?
So what do I think is ugly? I think the future is ugly. I think staying with Russell for the next year was clearly the right thing to do. You deal the hand you're dealt, right? We can't change this. We've got limited draft picks, we've got limited money, we've got limited talent, and we're running literally the best player on our team off of the field. And it makes me question Sean Payton, makes me question George Payton, makes me question the the ownership, and I think the ownership played a big part in this. I mean, I don't know if you've ever dealt with Walmart as a supplier, but they agree to a contract, and then if they don't like the terms, they come back and try to renegotiate you down. That is the business approach of Walmart, and I think you see it playing very well into Russell Wilson's situation here, regardless of whether or not it happens occasionally. Certainly doesn't happen in the middle of the season. It just doesn't. You just don't threaten to bench a player after you have your biggest win of the game. So here's what I think is ugly, is that there are so many people who don't have to deal with this franchise anymore. John Elway, Brock Osweiler, Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, Von Miller, Vic Fangio. All these people get to move on. They get to look forward to next season. You know who doesn't? It's us. It's us. It's the fans, and it's Vance Joseph. And we're going to have to deal with this for another year because for some reason Vance Joseph came back. But what happened this week took a near, a near playoff team, perhaps a near division winner this week. Well, last Saturday, we were in a position to win the conference, and now we are literally 2 years behind. We're not going to do anything next year, and maybe we'll do something the year after that. But we could have done the next 2 years. We could have had Russell Wilson behind center, and I don't know what they're thinking.
I agree. Steve, you're ugly.
I'm going to go with a long history of flailing about with this team, and it goes back before the Walton Penners. It is now firmly part of what the Walton Penners are doing. As we go out, try to, for many years we tried to get away with a cheap option at quarterback, getting sort of these middle tier guys and trying to win with a formula that really wasn't succeeding. We had endless bad draft picks. Now it's like, okay, we hire Hackett and then try to get Wilson to play as a pocket passer in the Hackett system, which doesn't work. Then Peyton comes in. You hire Peyton, who by all measures is not the right guy to coach Russell Wilson in that style of play.
You trade for him.
And I think it's pretty clear that they decided they were moving on from Wilson last season. Like they said, all right, this experiment was good, but we're going to move on from this. But because of the contract, we're not going to move on from it. And they tried to make it work. I think to be fair to, and I think you said this, Todd, like to be fair to Peyton and Wilson, I think they both came into the season trying to make it work. And I think Peyton has an attitude about how an offense is supposed to work, how he wants to call an offense. And Wilson just is not the guy for that. And it's no slight. I'm sure what's going to happen is Wilson's going to be gone next season. He's going to go to some team that's built to play that style of offense, and he's going to look good. And we're going to be sitting here, muddling through with Stidham or Garoppolo or somebody like that and not doing as well. I want to see us just commit to a plan. And I think we have. And we're just in this ugly transition point. I think the plan is Peyton. The plan is Peyton's style of offense. The plan is getting a quarterback in here who can run that system. Now, the big question is, can Peyton develop a quarterback? And he's never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been told, from various sources that he is a good educator. He's a good somebody who can teach people. But is he going to have the patience to take one of those young quarterbacks who's used to running the ball a lot and grooming him into the next Drew Brees or whatever? And I could see very easily us find ourselves, at the end of Peyton's contract with a losing record, a quarterback who isn't really doing anything in the system, a big cap hell, and essentially what Peyton left the New Orleans Saints with, if you really follow. So, Yeah, Todd, I think you may have a point about the ugly future, but I hope it's entirely possible to see Stidham look good in the next two games. That we'll be doing, at the very least, we'll have such a different offense that we'll have some success with it against defenses that just aren't ready for it. But who knows?
I think the cognitive dissonance of saying that I'd rather have Jarrett Stidham behind center than Russell Wilson is what is driving me crazy.
Agreed. I agree on that one because I think
whatever. show what you got.
When Stidham takes us to the Super Bowl, I'm quoting.
I mean, come on. You know, we had something going with Russell Wilson. We would have gone in next year as a playoff contender. I do not. It's been a head scratching 7 years, but this is just the dumbest thing in the world, because what I would say is it was working, you know, and I don't know. The game was, that was a bad game, but Russell Wilson did score 2 touchdowns and two-point conversions in the fourth quarter to tie the game. You know,
Yeah.
We're a viable football team. Maybe we'll be viable with Jared, I guess. But
We'll see.
I'll be happy to be proven wrong, but it just feels like it's the overall, this week has been a complete distraction for the team, and now everybody on that team knows that they're not safe. So, I don't think that. I think this is a cultural issue. It was because the trust was there's been no leadership. Nobody knows who's making decisions in the Broncos, and it's been that way for literally since we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree.
For 2 years, and now nobody does.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget, like, winning in the fourth quarter in the last 10 minutes of the game was kind of Seattle style with Russell Wilson. So that's the way that it was. But I understand people's frustration. You don't want every game to come down to the last 10 minutes of the game. But I was also going to say, and a lot of people aren't talking about this, and I really think it needs to be mentioned, was we spent all that money for McGlinchey and Powers, and I don't think they held up to their contracts. That offensive line was not good. And Russell's style of ball, you got to have a line that can hold open longer than needing. Granted, he holds on to the ball too long. I do agree with that. But that line needs to take some responsibility too.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I mean, like it's hard to judge the line. They've had times where they looked really good. They have times where they look terrible. How much of that is those individual players? How much of that is the scheme that they're doing? How much of that is Wilson getting pre-snap stuff in there, get them lined up correctly? It's hard to tell. Hopefully next season with a different way of playing, like that things are going to look better. But it's all a grand mystery at this point.
And I agree with that. I'm just sick and tired of the media thing, just focusing on Sean and Russell and not focusing on other issues that are with the team and digging into some of that stuff too, because you're not going to be able to throw a 40-yard pass if your offensive line can't stay open longer than 5 seconds. Let's just be honest about that. You're not going to be able to do a slot if you don't have your guys in the right place, and that's the other thing we were missing is a blocking tight end. So there's a lot of issues with the team. So I'm just tired of this media juggernaut like we've talked about in the past and we're talking about here, that everything is all Russell's fault or it's the quick fix. There's not a quick fix, and I agree with Todd. I think
we're back to being a quarterback away.
Maybe Stidham does work out. I hope he does for Sean's sake, because he's the one that insisted he wanted Stidham. He traded for him. That was the trade. So, Sean, it's time for you to. Now, I don't think he'll get fired if Stidham doesn't work out. That's not going to happen.
I think Sean Payton has 2 years, and I think we'll probably have a new coach in 3 seasons.
Yeah, I also think Sean needs to he needs to step out of being a TV analyst booth. Stop that stuff. Stop with the quick bites. Stop with the crap. And you're a head coach now. You need to think about what you're saying when you're in those meetings. It's not about getting on the NFL network with a soundbite anymore. But that's just I also was not a fan of this pick for coach. So I'm just, it's another check in the con section for me. But we're stuck with him. And I'm going to put it that way because they paid too much money and traded for him. So it's just not going to change. All right.
Although I think overall he's done a good job getting this team to play a better game, give or take.
Agreed.
Relationship with Wilson. Yep.
Yeah. I think he has made this team come together and be the glue and getting them to actually work with each other and not breaking down when things start going bad in a game like they used to in the past. So I think he is the right person to maybe bring some accountability and responsibility to the more inside the locker room, and having people take responsibility for that. And I think Vance Joseph has also done that too.
Vance has done a great job, but I just got to say, Sean Payton has been the team's biggest distraction since he started. From that crazy USA Today interview, to the onside kick, to the first play of the game, to him screaming at Russell Wilson for no reason against the Detroit game, to those 3 stupid timeouts, to him benching Russell this week. He has done an average job as a head coach. He came in from Nathaniel Hackett, and we haven't had good coaches, but Sean Payton is not much better than anything we've had before, and it's shown in his record and the health of the franchise as we go into the offseason. We need to fix the team again. We were supposed to fix the team last offseason. This was the season upcoming that we were supposed to be a contender, and as of this week, we are literally starting over. So Sean Penn's got to prove it. And, when he came out with all that craziness with Nathaniel Hackett in the summer, my point was keep your mouth shut until you win. And I still feel that way. Sean Payton is he's an average head coach right now. If he wants to be a good head coach, he's got to start winning. First thing to do is to try to get over 500.
Agreed. All right, Steve, you got one last thought?
Go Stidham.
We'll see it. We will all be watching the game together this weekend. Is that right?
No. It's I can't make it work time wise with New Year's Eve.
I'll probably be in for a bit, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
I will be watching the game. You might be. I'm not gonna lie. Even though the game isn't going to be shown on TV, I'm going to have to go through streaming to watch it. But still, I will be watching the game. And so that was going to be my one last thought, and my one last wish for this season is that we beat the Chargers and we beat the Raiders. If we can do that, I'm okay with the season somewhat, because we are 50-50, or no, we're just under 50-50. So win the last 2 games. That's all I ask. We need to break the record that we have going with the Raiders. So, all right, guys. As always, that's our mile high.
Let's hope Stephen does not get injured.
Yeah, true. Yeah, they'll have to put Russell back in. Who is our
awkward?
No. Danucci would go in.
Danucci's
on the Danucci.
Russell's the backup.
I don't think they're ever going to put Russell back up out on the field.
They'll just run the Wildcat.
The roster.
Yeah.
Kendall Hinton is gone. So
remember the rules changed. Remember the rules changed, because the team can always have can't have 3 quarterbacks on the list, and the third one does not count towards the 53-man roster. So they can pull someone off the practice squad with the QB. So I think Danucci would be there. And I got to tell you,
I'm just saying that Sean Payton has said that Russell's his backup this week.
Yeah, well, Sean has said a lot of things that have not proven true. So, as we've discussed on this episode, so I think Danucci should go in, but that's just my thought. But agreed, I think he probably would put Russell out. I'll just scream Danucci on our group chat if it happens. All right. Well, everyone, that again is our Mile High Minute. And as always, love discussing this stuff with you guys. And it's the same on this episode as it kind of is at the games. This is what we're like. And so sayonara, everyone. And bye. Have a happy New Year's Eve, guys. Bye-bye.